So Mac Jones on the trade block, but frankly, Trey Lance probably is too, because when I asked John Lynch if he would consider trading Trey, he says, we're fine with Trey on the team for now, which is not what you want to hear if you're a fan of Trey Lance, or maybe it's exactly what you want to hear if you're a fan of Trey Lance. If you want him to like get free like Shawshank Redemption or something. Which team do you think would be most likely to call up Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch on the low and be like, hey, we got an offer?
The first thing that jumped to my mind has got to be the Tennessee Titans, right? Rand Carthon's their new general manager. He was in the 49ers front office when they drafted Trey Lance. They need a quarterback. They don't really have any future there right now. I know Malik Willis is there, but they don't really seem enamored with him. And that was the first thought that popped into my head. I mean, somebody within the 49ers had to like Trey Lance, you would think. And obviously Rand would have more information on him than some of the other GMs around the league since he was in the building. I could see Tennessee saying, hey, maybe we'll even throw in Malik Willis for a deal here. Let's see if we can get something done.
I'm sure Kyle would love Malik Willis, right? I couldn't make it work with Trey Lance, so let me try Malik Willis. Titans are obvious. I think we're going to go back and forth with teams that have connections to the Niners. I was going to say Washington. I mean, with their quarterbacks who Jacoby Brissett, they want to run the ball. They're not really in a position to take any of the top 4 quarterbacks, and maybe Trey Lance is a better fit for them than Hendon Hooker. I don't know. That's a team. Nothing against Hendon Hooker. I like Hendon Hooker.
Would Kyle Shanahan potentially trade a franchise quarterback to Daniel Snyder, his favorites over there in Washington? I know
that's
Snyder might be gone.
I don't know about that. And I don't know if Kyle would trade a potential franchise quarterback that, again, didn't fail under Kyle, that Kyle just gave up on prematurely. Was he going to send him to any of his former underlings or co-workers because they have an opportunity to show him up? I mean, do you really want to do that? Because right now he's essentially trying to do that to Robert Saleh. You didn't give Sam Darnold a chance. You threw him out for freaking Zach Wilson, who I might have liked to. I don't know. But now I got Sam Darnold, and I'm going to show you how it's done. I don't know. I wonder if he's afraid to let someone do that to him.
I don't totally dismiss that. I don't totally dismiss the whole, like, hey, the optics of the whole situation.
Optics are big. Yeah, coaches look at optics.
I think they look at everything. All these coaches that sit here and say, I don't hear this, I don't know this, bull. They all have burner accounts on Twitter, I'm willing to bet, or somebody that's following along on Twitter and telling them what's up and what people are saying. And
the coaches do a good job of controlling the optics. Sorry to cut you off, but I feel like Kyle and his dad have been doing this since the 90s. I mean, they're connected.
Yeah, optics definitely matter.
Yeah. They're affiliated.
Yeah, and teams talk about who they're willing to trade players to all the time. I mean, that's part of the reason why Kirk Cousins wasn't traded to the 49ers earlier, because Daniel Snyder didn't want that. He didn't want to help Kyle Shanahan get a franchise quarterback. Right.
Absolutely. He wants Kyle to fail, and Kyle wants Daniel Snyder to fail. So that's right. I don't know about Washington. Another one I was thinking is Houston. I mean, that's perfect for Trey, right? Like a team that's a blank slate. D'Amico Ryans, you know him, you know Bobby Slowick. You can play as much as you want. There's no expectations there. But again, would Kyle do that? I don't know.
That he should be more willing to do that, because any draft pick compensation you're going to get back is going to be good. It's the AFC. And let's be honest, there's not much around Lance there right now, so he probably would have a tough time, at least early on. That would save the optics in favor of the 49ers, especially if the picks they use turned into something.
See, this is why I'm skeptical of Kyle Shanahan trading Trey Lance. I mean, yeah, you could make an argument that it's the right thing to do if Brock's your guy and whatever. And maybe, now is the most you could get for Trey Lance. Is the more he sits, the more his value goes down. But I don't know. I just don't see it, because it's like if you trade him, you get a 3rd round pick maybe, but the risk is you look like a freaking fool if he succeeds somewhere else. What's the risk reward there? I mean, do you really want to take that risk? Because he didn't fail under you. You just didn't give him a chance, and you like Brock now. But if you send him to Houston and he does well, is that something is that a risk you're willing to take? I wouldn't want to take that risk.
Especially when you don't know what the hell Brock's going to look like coming back, and you honestly don't know how Sam Darnold's going to perform. So it's like there's so much.
You honestly don't know about Trey. You honestly don't. You might think you do, but you honestly
don't. I think we do know how Sam Darnold's going to perform. Apparently, we're the only Kyle Shanahan's the only one that doesn't know how Sam Darnold is going to perform. But there's so much unknown there. I don't think Trey is going to get traded. I know Larry Krueger seems to be like hard on the Trey Lance is getting moved thing. I don't think he's going to get moved. I think that they're going to let him play it out and see what happens. I don't know, like it's going to be weird because they're going to say, well, you need to make a really big leap. And then if he automatically doesn't somehow magically get better without playing and coming off a major injury, they're going to use that as their justification to say, like, see, look, it just didn't work out. We were right sticking with Brock.
Yeah, and they're saying like they just don't believe in Trey. You know, they've made their evaluation. He's probably QB3 in the depth chart, and they don't even want to say it. Okay, like they can say all that stuff internally, but that's different from actually pulling the trigger for a third-round pick and saying, you know what, we're betting against Trey in his future and wherever he goes. Like, okay, you better be right because you've made some bets at quarterback and been wrong a lot. You bet on C.J. Beathard, you know, like you bet big on Jimmy. You better be right here because Brock, he had a nice 2 months, got hurt a couple of times. The second injury was catastrophic. You better be right. And so that's why I'm a little thinking that while they might flirt with trades, they might answer some calls, ultimately they might just get scared of the unknown here, of what could blow up in their faces.
The other thing with Brock that I feel like no one's really talking about is, like you said, this is a catastrophic injury. Eric Branch called it career-saving surgery. Mm-hmm. Are we sure that Brock's going to be, number one, willing to use that mobility in the pocket? Like, this is a scary thing. His NFL mortality is staring him in the face. And one of his biggest skills last year was evading the rushers, standing in there, evading the guy at the last second, making a play.
Extending the play. Yeah.
Well, now, at least early on, when he drops back to pass, he's got to be thinking like, oh my God, get rid of it. I can't have people near me. My elbow, is it going to hold up? Like that whole.
That's what happened to Jimmy.
Ben Roethlisberger talked about when he came back from his arm injury, he was very hesitant to let it rip because like rehabs don't just happen. It is a long, grueling process that takes months and weeks. You got to put in all that time. There's a mental side of this that we don't know if Brock's going to be able to overcome. And that's not a knock on him. That would be anybody.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember watching old Ben Roethlisberger. Whenever he threw, I could feel the pain through the television. I mean, like you could see it. He was babying it. He was like, you could see it. I mean, also, if you ever played baseball growing up, you ever hurt your arm, you know the difference. Someone who really lets it rip, really whips their arm, and someone who's holding something back. You can feel it, and you can see it with Ben at the end. I hope we don't see that with Brock Purdy, and that's another reason for them to be as cautious and slow with his rehab as possible, because if they end up there with Brock, he's useless to them.
Yeah, that's a part of this that we don't know how he's going to react to, and we don't even know if the arm's going to be the same. Even if he is willing to let it rip, we have no idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples of quarterbacks who really fell off after elbow injuries. So, you could argue that like, hey, if you don't trade Trey Lance on the draft night, his value goes down multiple rounds. That any team that would be in the market all of a sudden isn't in the market, and you're flirting with another season of him on the bench, and maybe you only get a fifth for him in the future. Yeah, okay, but at least give yourself a chance to find out what Trey Lance is, because he might have to be your week one starter. Brock might not be there. Sam Darnold might suck like we all think he does, and Trey Lance might be the guy that needs to start week one. So I don't know. I don't think they have the guts to trade him. That's the thing with I feel like Larry Krueger has read the tea leaves well. I think they might want to trade him, but I don't think they have the guts to do it, man. That would be pretty gutsy.
Like, if you're another team calling the 49ers, like, doesn't the fact that they're willing to trade him kind of scare you off a little? Like, why is this team getting rid of this guy that they've barely seen? What has he done that is so horrible that they're willing to do it?
If you're calling up Kyle, you're basically betting against Kyle. You're saying Kyle's incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. And maybe you're right, but how many people in the NFL really are that bold? I mean, JT O'Sullivan, he's not in the NFL, though. How many people really bet against Kyle? And that's the other thing with Mac. Like, once Bill Belichick puts Mac Jones on the trade block because, you know, it's not working out, how many people are going to bet against Bill Belichick? With Jimmy, the perception was, oh, man, no one thought Tom Brady would play into his 40s, and it's just a weird situation. With Mac Jones is failing. Who's going to say, oh, Bill Belichick doesn't know his ass from his freaking elbow? I'll call him up. I don't know.
And the weird thing there too is like they just hired Bill O'Brien, who they know what they're getting in Bill O'Brien. He used to work there, and they're not even willing to stick it out with Mac that they still want to get rid of him when they've seemingly fixed the sort of play calling issues that they have had. That's a weird. Maybe
situation. Mac wants out.
Could be.
We don't know about Mac. Mac seems like he's got his own thing going on. I don't know. I would love to know what Mac Jones is really like.